Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to the Franchising 360 show brought to you by Fran Coach. I am Tim Parmeter, and with me as always is Danielle Wright.
That's me.
Hey, every week on the Franchising 360 show, we're going to take a 360 degree look at the franchise industry. We're going to discuss things like what you need to know to determine if you should own a franchise. If so, how do you find the best franchise for you to own? Tips to succeed once you are a franchise owner, as well as how to take your existing business and turn it into a franchise. So who are we? Well, Danielle has been in the industry for over 15 years, working on the franchisor side in development, holding numerous executive roles, and for the last 5 years, she's been consulting brands on strategic and responsible growth. I've been in the industry for 11 years now as the founder and CEO of Fran Coach, which is the premier franchise consulting firm. Our number one goal is to help properly educate people on this amazing and sometimes misunderstood industry of franchising. So Danielle, what do you think we should educate people on tonight?
What did we tell them last week we were going to educate them?
Oh, I didn't watch. Did you?
It's funny.
So, there's this really scary word for sometimes, not for you, but for other people that haven't been around it, marketing.
Yeah, I love that. Are you sure you want to have a whole episode of that? Because and I'll go for hours.
I'll just go sit with Macy and you talk for
Perfect.
The next 23
minutes. For those
minutes.
that don't know Macy, she's the set dog.
So assistant producer, over there. So, I don't really want that life, don't you?
Yeah. Anyways, you're going off the marketing.
Marketing, we want to talk about but like we say that word a lot as if everybody understands it versus us maybe tonight taking some time to really walk through specific examples, both of things the franchisor will help as well as things, guess what, as an owner, you might have to do something too.
It doesn't have to be a dirty word or, like, as you would say in the opening, a misunderstood word, because marketing is... There's the direct marketing that we know as consumers that we get hit with all the time. And then there are things that you do normally that you don't realize that you're marketing yourself out into the general public, wherever you are, even if you don't own a business.
Correct. And I had an interesting experience literally on a plane recently on marketing things.
Interesting.
This
is a good tee up for my Friday fun fact.
Exactly where I was going.
Do you want to know why I say it's interesting?
I just want it to be interesting.
Yeah, okay,
what is it?
Okay.
What is it? Let's hear it.
The fun fact is, did you know that, like, athletes, think Shaquille O'Neal, own, like, franchises?
Lots and lots of them.
Like what?
Shaq owns lots and lots of them, but also there are tons of athletes that are heavily invested in
franchises. So do you know which ones Shaquille O'Neal owns?
Not off the top of my head.
Oh, come on. Just throw me one and I'll tell you if it's a yes or a no.
All I want to say is the General right now, but that's not a franchise.
That's not his franchise. Nope. He's a spokesperson for that. Five Guys, Papa John's, Krispy Kreme. He owns a chicken one, I think.
He started a chicken one, yeah.
A lot of them. So to the same point, he markets himself.
Right.
And now he subsequently markets the franchises he owns.
Yes.
Correlation? I do think so.
And so, and Shaq's an interesting story, and we saw him speak a couple years ago at the IFA, International Franchise Association.
Ago, yeah.
And he's very strategic with what he owns,
correct,
right? Or what, like the General or some of those
because
other things.
Because it is a partnership, right? Like I've got a brand.
Right. He's a brand.
He is a brand that he's got to maintain. So you can't just align with anything.
Right. And what's his thing? He said he wants things that, are needed things that, are like, we're always going to eat.
Yep.
We're always in insurance. He's even done some things for people maybe on the lower end. So yeah, like with the General, right?
Yeah.
Is one, which is again intriguing. And there are like athletes all over the place that are heavily involved because it's their brand.
I mean, Patrick Mahomes, whoever's watching this, like, he's a Whataburger owner. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah, see?
I know Drew Brees is heavily involved as a franchise owner, but even as a franchise part investor as a franchisor as well.
Correct. Yes. So All right, now that we've name dropped, this is a great segue to how does one market their business?
Yeah, and sometimes it's just as easy as that. And I'm always flying, my little travel backpack has the logo of our podcast, Franchising 101. And I'll get people every now and then will say something to me. I was on the plane with my backpack, and there's a guy sitting behind me wearing a hat that says Mr. Handyman. So he's the local franchise owner here in kind of the Clearwater area of Florida. He's wearing his hat, branding. I'm wearing the podcast. We're all waiting on the tram, and he's pointing and I'm pointing, and had a conversation just based on kind of the branding and the marketing aspect.
Bringing strangers together, one franchise at a time.
One in the morning after a really long flight and a really long delay. So, but there's so many different things. And again, I want to come back and talk about things that initially that a franchise will help you with. We always say help, right? They're not doing, but then really want to dive deeper into, as an owner, you got to do stuff too.
Right. How can Shaq own all of these franchises and market himself with them at the same time?
Correct. So, marketing is not a scary word, but really we're going to go into the different examples of the ways in which you're going to market your new franchise once you are up and running. That is next here on the Franchising 360 show. Welcome back, everyone, to the Franchising 360 show. I'm Tim Parmeter. With me, as always, is Danielle Wright. Marketing, a four-letter word or not? Is scary, evil, people get confused, a little overwhelmed.
Four-letter word.
Like, isn't that usually like bad words or like four-letter words?
I don't know. It's the reason why I asked the question.
So, franchisor, let's start with the franchisor first. So there are things that part of why we become a franchise, you've said it, we've talked about it numerous times on the show. There's the plan, right? That you're getting and you are following. Some of that is marketing. Some of it's super simple things, but talk about kind of maybe some of the things a franchisor has in place to help you market your new franchise.
Well, typically they have a playbook of some sort, but it's generally tied to your grand opening and your ad opening and post opening. But after you've opened and you've been open for a little while, it's kind of like you got to do what the market's kind of asking for.
Right.
So,
but even before that, there's the brand, there's the logo, there's a website,
that's accessibility to content, right? Like access to those things, because you have to abide by those per your franchise agreement. But as far as how you get customers in the door to your truck, calling your number, all of the ways to get the customer, how do you at FranCoach market your business?
I have a TV show.
Okay.
And lots of other things. No, and I think there's always multiple different kind of marketing strategies and avenues that should be going on, right?
So what do you tell your clients when they're getting hung up on a 2% or a $3,500 a month you need to spend in your local market? What does one tell somebody before they come to Azor?
I would say if somebody, because in the franchise agreement, a lot of times there's a minimum, which you refer to, a minimum marketing spend, and it may be like, oh my gosh, I got to spend $40,000 a year on marketing. Like, you're going to probably spend more than that, right? Like, if you want customers, I think it's time and money, right?
Yes.
So are you spending
personal time? Right.
Are you spending your time out and about? And we'll get to some of the owner things where that can come up. Or am I spending money on, again, anything digital, right? Google AdWords, social media, print. We always forget what people, and you worked with a print brand years ago.
I did.
People think that's dead, but that still works too.
No, it's still, I think when I generally coach people through it when they're getting overwhelmed with I'm not a marketer. Right. Like but you are. Do you go up and talk to people regularly? Do you go to church? Do you participate in kids' youth events? Like, do you talk to people about what you do?
Yes.
Do you?
Yes.
Right. You just said before the break, you were on a plane, you were this and that, point, here we go. There might have been nonverbal communication in that, but you were communicating that, hey, I have this brand, he had that brand. So you are effectively a marketer if you own a business. Who's going to promote it more than the person that owns it?
Right. And so, but there's things in there from most people don't come into this with tons of marketing experience, right? And so, which also is why you do a franchise versus starting yourself. I mean, again, even if it's like, We've talked about this.
I don't want to have to create like
the name. What am I going to name
my
it
goodness.
versus,
oh,
right?
The name is the hardest part. And then the colors, like everything.
And a logo. Then we got to create a website. And then what goes on it? Is it optimized? Is it what the heck is SEO? Right. All of these different things.
So the same point that you made about the brand is there's this lovely thing called Google that has an algorithm that changes as the wind blows. So one minute you may be on page 1, the next minute you're on page 10. I don't know how to do that. So part of the franchise is already doing that. You don't get a designated page that is you, but it's a sub page. But how many of us know actually how all of that stuff works? I mean, half the time when I say microsite to you, you don't even know what that means.
Right. No.
Like, is it a tiny itty bitty thing?
Right. No, right. And so having all of those things in place, and we talked last week about signing a franchise agreement until open, these are some of the things that are going on during that time.
Yeah, and some of the education, right? Because remember, to your point, like here, we're here to educate you what it means to be a franchise owner, what it means to own a franchise, be a franchisor. This is stuff that you have to give people because they just don't know. And you've already built it. So I don't want them doing something different and changing the yellow in some form or fashion. Like, you have to be consistent so that people know who you are. But from a consumer perspective, what are you going to do in your market? Because as we're a reminder to our guests, right, that are watching us every Friday, you live in Arizona. I live in Tampa, Florida. Consumer in Arizona.
Very different.
Than Tampa, Florida.
Yep. And understanding that. And so are there tons of things that the franchisor will have in place? People to support you throughout on a marketing standpoint? Absolutely. Right. But the thing that people tend to forget is, as an owner, you might have to do something yourself. Right. And so let's come back after the break and let's talk about some specific examples of how people can use their time as an owner to help promote their business and get some customers.
I love some examples.
I do too. And so we're going to do that when we come back here on the Franchising 360 show. Hey, we are back on the Franchising 360 show alongside Danielle Wright. I am Tim Parmeter. Marketing. So we talked about some things that the franchisor, briefly, all the different things that they're going to have in place to help you. But as an owner, like, I own a franchise, franchisor is going to do everything. I can just kick back, put my feet up on the desk and wait for them to make me all the money.
Sure.
Right? It's not going to work all that well, right? So
I think the thing I say always, you get out of it what you put into it. So
yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
Like, the answer is yes.
Is that the wisest thing? Perhaps not.
Again, all up to you.
Talk about what your goals are. Is your goal to be, right. So talk about
failure's not in your vocabulary. Wait for it. It will be.
It will be when you just kick your feet up and do nothing, right? So that's why I always you're probably sick of me making the analogy of it's like going to school, right? And going to college, I can pay the tuition. I have the right to be a miserable failure.
Yep.
I have the right to be a C student. I have the right to be valedictorian, right? What are you going to put into it? And I think from a marketing standpoint, this is maybe one of the biggest areas that's going to determine where they're going to fall on that scale.
Yeah, and I think if you go back and watch any of the previous episodes, which are on YouTube, so feel free, we've talked to franchise owners, we've talked to franchisors, and they all have a very strong opinion about, like, what does it mean to grow my business? And so I think it's follow what the franchisor gives you, the baby steps to, if you've never done it, you get in it. And then you got to figure out what works for you, right? So I had a couple one year that we placed in a painting franchise, and they hadn't heard of BNI, Business Network International, which is a franchise, by the way. And so BNI is a group of business owners that meet once a week, and they give referrals. Right. It's a lot of effort. It's a lot of work. It's time consuming, but their goal in that network is to help you create revenue in your business. I had one guy when I was going to own a garage door business, this was pre-you, that I went into a BNI, and he's like, I will kick you enough business to cover your yearly admission into this group, which was $2,500. I was like, no way. Right. Like, he's like, I'll kick it to you in the first month. I'll give you enough business to pay for your membership here. I'm like, okay. Yeah. And there's that kind of power. But what would that have taken? That would have taken me every Wednesday at 7 a.m. going to the same place, having the same coffee, doing the same things. Right. Every week with these people, hoping that they're going to give me a referral.
Right. And I always caution people, not caution, but remind people in those situations
Caution because you don't really love that stuff.
I don't, but I've been around it enough from franchising and prior that if you show up there and all you're doing is like, hey, everybody, give me leads versus how can I help others, right? And I think looking at those things,
reciprocity,
right? And so, the networking events, whether it's BNI or there's, the chamber, there's the Rotary, there's the whatever.
Right. And we're on a franchise journey. Like, hi, we're going to be showcasing that here soon. But part of what you're talking about is like we sat and brainstormed about what do you do outside the traditional, let me throw a bunch of money at Google and Facebook and Instagram or like the print mailers. I am a big fan that you do all the things today. Like there was a time, 1950, 60, I got to be in the yellow pages. I got to be in the newspaper. I got to be in the local, I got to be in the local bulletin. Like that's fine. Google, internet, 90s, what have you, everything was digital. Now you have to do all the things, which costs money, more than $40,000 a year, but you've got to be thoughtful with what's getting you that bloody acronym ROI.
Right. And I think being strategic. So do I have a home service brand? Connecting with realtors, the greatest referral sources on the planet.
Hosting events, sponsoring golf tournaments.
Right. We own Boutique Fitness a while back, and we had like local schools, right, that are their team that they came in to do that. We talked about sponsorship, right? We're like just last month, or last couple months, we've sponsored 2 different golf tournaments. I tell people at FranCoach, our clients, FranCoach has nothing to do with college athletics. But I played it. It's still near and dear to me. So we sponsor 3 different small college basketball programs and 1 golf program, because it can. And so does that necessarily get us business? Maybe.
One day.
Right.
Those people may eventually be business owners.
Right. But you never know where those things are going to come from. So sometimes as an owner, like where's your passion or things that you enjoy? Well, we like playing golf. Let's go sponsor that. Does something come of it? Maybe, maybe not.
Maybe. But again, if you're not out having the conversation, but that's still marketing.
Right.
So if you were looking at a P&L, I'm going to go my business brain and franchisor side is that then I get to say that's a marketing expense.
Right.
And a lot of times, like when these brands say, hey, go out and put yard signs out or door tags on, just know that those hours that your employees are doing those things can actually be split as labor and marketing. So marketing has so many facets to it. That's why I kind of hate the word, but love the word because you can do so many different things.
What's the number now? I see touch points. People need to see your brand before they become a buyer, like 8 or 9 times.
Well, historically, the marketing numbers were you have to blanket them up to 8 times with your brand for them to even know that you exist. Yeah. It doesn't mean they're a buyer. It doesn't mean anything's happening with it, but that means they actually know that you're relevant and to the failure rates and what have you. Like they're here 1 minute, gone the next. So you've got to be repetitive with those touch points.
And when we always tell our people when they're like, well, which one of these marketing things should you do that the franchise is talking about? You do them all. And then you
just don't do them all at one time. Like, don't just shove it into this box. I'm going to do it for this month. And then you have nothing for the next 6 months.
Right. But you mentioned BNI. One person you would have a better experience doing that than I would.
Yes.
Right. Doesn't mean that I couldn't still do it. But that just means if I'm not doing that, then maybe I have to spend my time and money somewhere else.
Correct.
Right. So, just kind of giving some examples of that. We're going to talk a little bit more about this when we come back here on the Franchising 360 show. Marketing isn't a scary word. We're going to keep showing you how, again, when we come back. Welcome back to the Franchising 360 show. Tim Parmeter with Danielle Wright. And Danielle, we've been talking about marketing, things the franchisor is going to do to help you as a franchise owner succeed, but also great examples of things that you should be doing as a franchise owner. As somebody's getting ready, maybe they're in this position, they're getting ready to launch. What's maybe the biggest piece of advice that you would give somebody? Or maybe there's 2 pieces of advice that you would like to share.
Why do we keep going this pathway? I always ask for help. So reach out to your franchisor's marketing department if they allow that. Talk to your franchise business consultant. Talk to other franchise owners. Maybe not, if they're not in your market, ask other markets. There are a lot of great professionals that will consult you on cool and inventive ways to kind of get your brand out of the market.
Like FranCoach.
Like FranCoach, right?
So
okay.
You mentioned owners, and I think that is a forgotten resource in even sometimes
it's like we're scared to call people and tell people like, hey, I'm not really doing all that great. Can you like help me out? Like, what are you doing? Those are the best people to ask because they're going to be the ones that get on the phone and tell you how great they are.
Right. But if you think about it, who doesn't like being asked for advice, right? On something, and they may go,
sure.
Hey, you mentioned the BNI. They may go, oh no, that was terrible. We had a franchise system where an owner, and they were ironically both clients of FranCoaches, and one hadn't been really doing a whole bunch of stuff and was struggling a little bit, and they got him into, they had I think it was like a twice monthly
mastermind is what they're called.
And so a newer franchise owner, which is also one of ours, is absolutely like killing it with everything. And he had talked about some things he was doing on LinkedIn. The other guy goes, oh, that doesn't work. I tried that. Right. So his immediately was negative, but really all he was doing was like making a post, right? There was no call to action. There was no nothing. But because he got part of that group with other owners and hearing the things that are working from them, he kind of almost was like, oh, right. And really gave him like an opportunity.
And I think it's always good to say, I don't know something. Maybe you do, like, right? Like I think I know a lot about something, but maybe I really don't. So it's okay to like go and say, yep, I didn't take much out of that. Or like we've gone to events and, oh, we're not going to get anything out of this. But if you get one or two little nuggets, that can make the difference in the revenue your business is producing.
And sometimes it can confirm what you are doing is you're spot on, right? And that's okay. That's okay too.
But you can't fix the problem if you don't know where the problem exists.
And if you're going to be in a franchise system as a franchise owner and then not use any of the resources, you kind of lose your ability to complain.
And didn't we have an episode with someone that was in marketing for a brand?
Yeah, on our Franchisee 101 podcast, our pal Marcy Kleinsasser, episode 235 on our Franchisee 101 podcast. She's been in marketing for
a long time,
decades, and is brilliant with this. And so there's tons of great things there. If you would like to learn more about franchise ownership to see if this is the path for you, come check us out at francoach.net. Our team is here to help you. There's never any fee for that. Also, go to our YouTube channel. You'll be able to see past episodes of this show, bonus footage, the Franchising 101 podcast. There's a bunch of other stuff there. And if you'd like to read, we do have a new book called Becoming a Franchise Owner, which is about becoming a franchise owner. And then we'll be back next week. But because we're business owners, we get freedom and flexibility in our schedule. Where are we off to?
Oh, yeah. Okay, we're headed to Vegas.
To see?
I'm not overly excited about Vegas, but we're going to see Kenny Chesney.
That you're overly excited about.
I'm always excited to see Kenny Chesney.
It's Kenny in the Sphere. Kenny, I'm sure you're watching. If you want to hook us up with some backstage passes, would be pretty cool too.
You don't want that to happen for you.
I will come home single. So anyway, until next week, that's Danielle Wright.
That's me.
I am Tim Parmeter.
He's the single guy.
This is the Franchising 360 show. See you next week.